Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the Nanyang Championships. We're here in the lower bracket now, best of one series, not today, facing off against Team Freedom. Loser goes home. I'm Lyrical Dota, joined today by Gorgon the Wonder Cow. Sir, how are you doing? And you excited about this best of one we got to finish off the day?
I'm excited for the best of one. If for no other reason, the best of ones are crazy, man. Stuff you never expect what happens in a best of one because teams pull out weird stuff they'd never try in a best of three, right? You can get away with some bullshit only once, and that's the sort of stuff that comes out in these kinds of games.
It definitely feels like it could be one of those matches where, I mean, Team Freedom themselves, they've been known to run a couple of clowny things from time to time. I'm thinking back to the Kunkka Tinker days where it was Jubei as well as, I can't remember who depending upon which way they want to run it, like, it's just incredibly potent. But it also is a little bit clowny, and I'm curious if we're going to see something like that. As far as the initial picks, everything looks fairly standard here. But again, both of these teams ended up getting dropped down to this lower bracket. NoT Today lost against FDL 2-0. Meanwhile, Freedom were able to take one game off of Shazam in a best of three. So I'd kind of favor Freedom in this matchup, having the tougher opponent and also being able to take one game off of them. And plus, they've just been playing really well recently.
Yeah, I would also favor Freedom in this matchup for one additional reason, and that is that NoT Today are typically really strong in the mid game, but they just have difficulty sealing the deal. Like a lot of teams from their region, they don't necessarily either have the discipline or the fervor to break that high ground at exactly the right moment. And we see a lot of games where NoT Today gets out to a lead and then stalls out and ends up falling apart before they actually manage to end the game. Team Freedom do have a tendency to like fairly counter-initiation based, fairly late running heroes. They still run the Spectre. They still run the Ember Spirit on this patch. They've still run the Invoker on this patch and the Alchemist. So these are all heroes that into NoT Today, if they do have a predilection for not quite finishing the game quite as quickly as they could come back and bite them.
Absolutely, and we do see as well the IX Mike first pick overall. Abaddon, he runs this hero all the freaking time nowadays. Of course, known a lot for his Clockwork and Batrider play in the past, but in 6.86 with this guy, he played him a ton of times. He actually, I think, it doesn't show it in the esports tab as much, but just in terms of his pub play, he does it all the time. In terms of professional matches, he had 5 games played, 80% win rate in 6.86, and then in 6.87, he's run it 4 matches and had a 50% win rate. So not quite as much, but still incredibly strong and something you need to deal with.
He's got a couple more matches that are between Dota buff the way Dota obviously not up to date right now, but Dota buff the way that they end up breaking down patches is kind of weird. He's got a couple more games than that on 687 because of the sub patches as well, and a slightly higher win rate. It has been working out for him in this region. So it'll be interesting to see how NoT Today decide to handle that. They're going to grab the Alchemist Lion combo for themselves. Lion, a great control support, provides a lot of potential burst damage to get through heroes like Enchantress that are otherwise difficult to chew through. And of course, he is sort of a insurance policy is what I'm looking for against the potential for illusion-based heroes because he's so strong against illusions with the Hex and the Mana Drain. And Alchemist is, we talked about it a little bit earlier today, but he just scales really well in the current metagame, especially with some of the changes on 687 in terms of the way that gold and experience have been changed. Alchemist kind of blows through those changes without requiring too much adjustment to players' understanding of the game. It allows teams to scale more evenly.
Ooh.
I love this.
Early Ancient Apparition. Pretty nice response there by Team Freedom. The other thing I was going to mention is that Lion with the Mana Drain also can be a bit of a problem sometimes for Abaddon, a hero that can be kind of a spell bot in the mid game where you want to try and consistently spam out those abilities. And if Lion's able to get a couple of points in there, I don't know if you're ever going to try and take those over Hex necessarily. Being able to just get that straight up lockdown is probably stronger, but it is an option he can go for if he feels like it. It can be a pretty big problem, but they're going to ban out the Tiny. So opting to take out another one of those mid heroes that can be a pretty big problem, and I like it so far.
Tiny can be really good against Alchemist also because of Crag Exterior, right? Alchemist, when he's running Chemical Rage, has a BAT of 1. It's like the lowest in the game. So into cracking exterior at melee range, that high BAT can kind of swing against Alchemist, be extremely frustrating. I love the Ancient Apparition pick here, though. Not only is it an extremely hard counter to Alchemist's Chemical Rage, but also to the Armlet. That is one of the reasons Alchemist has continued to be buoyed up in this patch, is the buffs to Armlet, right? In addition, Ancient Apparition just isn't strong enough a hero to warrant really counterpicking that effectively. Like, you have to be aware that your opponents have it, but you're probably not going to see somebody grab like a Nyx Assassin just to counter out a support Ancient Apparition. It's just not going to happen.
Excuse me. Yeah, I would agree. I do want to say that it does feel like it's one of those picks that maybe, considering they've taken it so early, you can try and punish it. Is there any chance that they try and run this in a little bit of an aggro lane with the Abaddon themselves? It does feel like they have two heroes in that lane that could be really strong at the very get-go. And while Lion does have the nice disable after the fact, he doesn't have a whole lot to bring to the table as far as trading blows in an off or in a tri-lane versus tri-lane situation.
Yeah, I don't think it's very likely we'll see AA run in an aggressive try situation, but it's too early in the draft for me to be sure, right? He does do fairly well into an aggressive try if you do have very aggressive heroes that can tank tower. Because of that chilling touch, you can get a lot more damage out if you are sitting in a tri lane on that chilling touch rather than if you are roaming or if you're sitting in a dual lane, which is more commonly what you're seeing in the current metagame.
And we also see now the bands that come out. It's going to be the Gyrocopter, the CK, and the Luna. So you can see where each team's priorities are sort of lying right now, particularly Team Freedom, taking out those high damage dealing core heroes that are going to be up in that dire safe lane. They want to make sure that this Abaddon gets off to a good start and is not going to end up running into too much trouble. I feel like Luna is one of those heroes that if you get it off to a good start can just completely punish almost any offlane hero, as well as Gyrocopter. But it's not often that you end up seeing that second round ban, so it is something that they're concerned about.
Yeah, interestingly enough, the Chaos Knight and the Tiny, neither of which are extremely popular right now, take the place of banning out similar heroes in terms of scaling, such as the Dragon Knight or the Sven, right? I mean, those heroes are much more popular and do a lot of the things that Tiny or Chaos Knight do, right? Both Tiny and Chaos Knight have pretty decent stuns. They've got good control. They're strength heroes that push into towers. The same can be said for Dragon Knight and Sven, but Dragon Knight and Sven would scale into the Alchemist better, at least than the Tiny, if not also than the Chaos Knight.
I like this Undying pick as well. It feels like there's sort of two ways that you can run this. If Team Freedom did want to get aggressive, it's a nice answer to that because, Undying sort of stands alone as far as being able to fight in a tri-lane. But then the other opportunity here is you can just run them into the mid lane, make sure that Alchemist has a good time, and throw decay at whoever the mid hero is going to be from Team Freedom. So a lot of good stuff coming out. I like the answers that Not Today are leveling. I am a little bit concerned about their ability to sort of actually have like damage at this point. Undying can roam around and make stuff happen, but he's kind of that accentuating force as opposed to a hero you think about, an Enchantress where you can bring in a couple creeps, try and take a tower. He's a jack of all trades but doesn't do anything in particular amazingly well.
Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced this is going to be a 4-spot Undying. It could still be an offlane Undying, which would buy some space here, and that looks to be okay. So there are a couple ways that we could see this run, right? We could see the Alchemist in the safe lane with Queen of Pain mid, Undying off or support, or we could see the Queen of Pain off lane, the Alchemist mid, the support Undying that you're expecting in a farming carry yet to come. Either way, the Queen of Pain does not fit the lineup as it would traditionally typically be seen. I think
I think it might be like a safe lane Queen of Pain maybe.
Oh, that's possible too.
I was wondering, like, if they are thinking, I have my head like stuck on this is going to be an aggro lane, and maybe that's a little bit of a thing that I need to try and take off my head. But if that is indeed the case, then Quap is a pretty great answer to that. But there's still a lot of variability as far as where they want to go with this draft, and these next round of bans, as well as this next pick from Freedom, might reveal some of what it is that we're going to be seeing. But yeah, like you said, I guess just a lot of versatility with where they can take this.
Yeah, Slark is one of these heroes that will scale into the mid game relatively effectively if he gets off to a good start, but he does need to get off to that decent start. He needs to be ahead. He can go into an aggressive tri-lane with Chilling Touch relatively effectively, but into a Queen of Pain, the odds of them actually locking somebody down and getting a kill are very low. So if they were considering a tri-lane, it seems increasingly unlikely now. Nyx Assassin is going to be the pick here.
What?
There aren't a lot of natural targets for the Nyx.
What is this?
There's no tank for Team Freedom. I told you, this is best of ones.
Huh. Well, one thing that's nice about this Nyx is obviously when Alchemist gets up his Radiance, you're going to be able to have a really nice setup to be able to get that spiked Carapace. Maybe when Alchemist's Chemical Rage goes down on cooldown, you're able to find a really nice and easy quick kill on him if you're setting that up with like an Ancient Apparition Ice Blast at the same time. But it does feel like the lanes now from Team Freedom are going to be really hard. They've got 3 melee heroes already.
Yeah, Freedom don't have an immense amount of lane control. I mean, Ancient Apparition is just one of the reasons that he's not more popular. Is that he's just notoriously bad at controlling lane. He's good at helping others output damage, but he does not himself actually output very much damage. He doesn't have a reliable stun. His slow is abysmal in the laning phase. And Slark is pretty decent at getting his farm. He's got Dark Pact. He's fairly survivable. He is an old school offlaner as well, and that's a good sign that he's able to get in and get stuff done. But for Abaddon and Nyx Assassin, both of these heroes can make farm happen, but they can also be vulnerable. I will say the change to Spike Carapace that you can use it in Vendetta without breaking Vendetta does make that Radiance point that you mentioned all the more devastating. Right? The Nyx Assassin can walk up behind an Alchemist while the Radiance is burning, pop the Spike Carapace, stun him before he reveals himself, and then get the full Vendetta damage followed up by an Impale.
I was gonna say like what is this 6.84? But this isn't.
There's no patch in which this
there's
makes
no
sense.
patch. There's nothing. I have no idea what Team Freedom are doing. I'm really excited to see what they bring out, but the Leshrac assumably going to be played in the mid lane, and oh my god, that's a Weaver. They have 1 stun, 2 stuns, which are both skill shot ish. This could be a problem.
Yeah, Weaver's a pretty good pick here. Not going to lie. I like it. Ben Hawes is not a pushover on that hero either. So, Team Freedom, man, if they get going, if this works, it's really going to work because they have the answers, right? They've got the answer for the Alchemist with the Ancient Apparition. They've got the answer for the Lion with the Nyx Assassin. Queen of Pain and Leshrac might be kind of a toss-up, but Abaddon into the sort of slow peeling style of damage that's coming out of NoT today is not going to be an issue. But
10 seconds remaining.
It's weird, and there's no guarantees that this sort of ambition in the draft is going to pay off.
Well, we're going to see what ends up happening as we're getting ready to hop into this game. Team Freedom facing off against NoT today. It's so good. Our production value is just off the charts right here. But yeah, a very interesting start, and I'm very curious to see how it plays out, particularly the laning stage for Freedom. I think that's probably the biggest hurdle for them to overcome. Ancient Apparition's going to head out towards the top. It looks like they're going to be bringing the Lesh up there as well. So kind of an interesting start with the Slark maybe heading mid. Oh god, I'm not even going to try and analyze this.
They're
going
to Nyx Assassin mid. They're going to Slark safe lane with the Abaddon, and then they're going to roam the AA, I assume, and offlane the Lesh, or maybe just straight 2-1-2,
but
something like that.
But Mike is always the one that's farming on Abaddon. Like,
yeah,
Oh
no, Mike should go to the offlane. He is playing the Abaddon. I really.
30 seconds.
I'm at a loss, man. It might be this aggressive trialing that you've been hoping and praying for.
Well, the Ancient Apparition doesn't want to be in this world anymore, so they're going to head the heck out of there. He's going to reconnect. I will say that given the way that this is starting out, like they're sending all of these heroes up here to the top. No type flex zone, wonderful. I think that if they do run an aggro tri-lane with Mike, the Leshrac, as well as this Ancient Apparition, it feels pretty strong to me. You know, Lesh does a lot of damage in these early stages.
Yeah, I think that the damage output in that it could be strong. My concern is how do you scale that into the mid game? Right, that seems like it's a big ramp of damage going up through your laning phase, and then it just cuts off, and suddenly you're on your bike flying over the creek, and there is no safety net anywhere, and you realize, oh boy, I am not Evel Knievel, and there's no exit strategy here. That's kind of how I feel. I feel like they're going to get over the creek and then look down and realize that there's no exit strategy. You know,
I'm with you. It does feel like there's. You know, one way that they could run it is if Leshrac just maxes out Diabolic Edict and they start trying to take towers with that. And then the hope is that you get Slark farmed enough that he just runs over everybody. And I think that's the way that Freedom basically have to play this, is running like the 4 heroes together, just trying to get a lot of levels on them early. Once Ancient Apparition gets 6, he's good to go, and you kind of sit him in a lane elsewhere. This is going to be a very, very interesting start to this game, and I'm not exactly sure. As far as the matchup goes, though, like Weaver and Lion facing off against this with the Undying maybe hopping in to help out, how do you feel like that's going to go, the battles? Well, we might actually see one in a start as the game is going to get started.
Let's see how it goes, Lyrical.
They've got 5 heroes in the area for both teams. This is going to be an all-out brawl to start. Saludos a la Mike. Dice los gente de not today, and with the shield starting up, there's going to be a little bit of a battle. Oh my god, everybody knows each other in Dota. All right, Decay stacks.
Especially NA Dota.
Oh yeah. Oh, a nice little stun coming out. Ancient Apparition taking a lot of damage. Really good Earth Spike onto several heroes. Feed is maybe going to go down. They've already lost one. Can they find another? Not looking like they're going to be able to do it. The Queen of Pain was able to escape. Hits the stun onto no flex zone. The Alchemist is going to start to fall. Impale comes through afterwards, and that's going to be a second. Team Freedom find 2, but not today got first blood.
What did I tell you? Best of ones are crazy, man. Like they are. You could lock them up in a padded room, and nobody could convict you in a court of law. That's how best of ones are. So we're gonna see some action here. In this lane, I think that, as we mentioned, there should be a fair amount of damage output up here up top. But as you mentioned in the draft as well, like there's no lockdown for this Weaver. What are you going to do against him? Nothing.
Yeah, that's going to be the problem, really. And you can potentially get the leash from Slark if you're able to hit that pounce, and then follow it up with the split earth. But that's really going to be the main source of catch, I guess. It's still just going to be so tough. Down here in the bottom lane, though, you do have IX Mike facing off against Queen of Pain. The Aphotic Shield does take off the dagger, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, it should.
Okay. Oh, stun ends up catching there. It's going to be a lot of damage. Leshrac's starting to drop low. Benjaz taking a good amount of damage as well from the Chilling Touch, and he is going to start to drop. They do manage to kill off that Lesh, and unfortunately, I think that they're going to be able to find the Weaver. No, they get the Fairy Fire, and now also the Ancient Apparition going to go down. Oh, Slark, say it ain't so. Very quickly, everyone is dead. Oh, Team Freedom.
So this is this was the concern that I had with the tri-lane. They do have the damage to theoretically do something up here. They have no control, though, at all in this lane. And Ancient Apparition's actually just going to go bottom. They're going to give up. I don't know what they do. They rotate Abbott on top and hope that he can handle a lane into a Weaver Undying, but that's going to cause the mid to collapse down on them because Nyx Assassin doesn't mid very well into an Alchemist because of the acid spray. Like things are not going well already here for Team Freedom.
It was a bit of a rough one. There's no doubt about that. You did see IX Mike end up denying himself to neutrals. Undying with right now an Arcane Rune. This is the most terrifying sight in the world at 2.5 minutes into the game. They're going to jump forward, drop the tombstone onto this Ancient Apparition, and he is super dead. Oh, man. This is... I don't know how I feel about this. They're going to be able to maybe take away this tombstone, though, and a nice bit of gold going the way of Lesh.
Yeah, you got to take what you can get, I suppose. He's also going to come in behind. Will miss the stun. Shadow Strike is there, though.
Oh, man. Undying with more kills than than CS at this stage. He's having a pretty good time, though.
Yeah, at 3 minutes, I'll take more kills than CS any day of the week. That's even if you've got 0 CS, 1 kill in 3 minutes as a 4th spot Undying that's not a terrible place to find yourself, to be honest.
I'm a little bit concerned. They're going to bring the Ancient Apparition in again, but he's still stuck at level 1. They're actually going to smoke up and go mid to try and find a kill here, and they realize they need to shut down this Alchemist. He's about to have his soul ring up. If somebody can be able to hit the Impale to set this all up, that would be really huge. They also are going to try and rotate the Undying around, see if they can find him. They hit the Impale, looking for a second one. Split Earth is going to connect, and that's going to be a kill. So Ancient Apparition finds that one, and a little bit going back their direction. That was nice.
They needed that. They need to make sure this Alchemist doesn't get out of control, because God knows Ben Haas is probably going to. They don't have any answers for that guy.
Weaver, Ring of Health. He is not going to die, most likely, in this lane. It is a very difficult one for Mike, indeed, to find a kill here. But do you think he's comfortable getting just, trying to mess around with the CSing of the Weaver, or does he have to find something in this lane?
I think that he's probably pretty comfortable just slowing the Weaver down. Remember, the name of the game is to get the Slark rolling, right? Basically, the entire draft for Team Freedom is poke and prod, open up space, let the Slark get what he needs to get. So, in terms of what do they need to do, the answer is
not
lose
their
that.
Slark. Yeah.
Well, I was just about to say the answer is anything that keeps the Slark ahead of his opponents. He is behind 3 of them in terms of CS, and he is behind 4 of them in terms of net worth.
Oh, Mike also was trying to find a kill up there on the Lion, but ends up not being able to go for it.
I would love to sit down with Team Freedom and have them just explain his draft to me. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I am missing something.
I think that they probably one of the picks or bans messed up their strategy at some point. It feels like it was sort of a draft that they were trying to find something and then they weren't able to get what they wanted. I don't remember what the bans were out of NoT today, but they certainly threw them off kilter.
Yeah, there were a fair number of bans that seemed odd, and those might have been very specified bans into Team Freedom. Maybe NoT today knew something from scrims, right? But they're actually gonna move into an engagement here in the mid.
Now they find the Lion. That's going to be one at least. And now going to chase a little bit further after this Leshrac. They have a zombie on top of them, so slightly slowed down for the moment. Really nice Soul Rip coming through. Finds 1 kill, and it looks like with that they're going to back out and feel comfortable where they're at. Again, Alchemist trying to build towards this armlet. If he ends up being able to get this at a reasonable time, it's going to be a big issue. Nice as well with the Vortex to slow down the Alch before he can get there, and Undying takes the bounty rune. All good and wonderful right now for NoT today, I'd say.
Yeah, the one nice thing about that armlet pick, if he is going to go into it, which I'm not entirely convinced he will, because did he already? Yeah, he's already got the helm. He's going for it.
Yeah.
As soon as Ancient Apparition hits 6, that item becomes close to useless. It still gives him armor, but he can't toggle it at all. He can't turn it on in a fight until the AA or either uses his ult or dies. Because the second he turns it on, he's draining his own health for the duration of that ultimate. So, that's one nice little offset. They do, once again, have a pretty big answer to that mid laner, who is going to be the biggest issue. But Slark still sitting down. Slark is below IX Mike in terms of net worth by a moderate amount.
Yeah, it's not the best. I mean, you're still looking at a situation here where they're not terribly far behind. The heroes that you would want to be further ahead are not ahead, and that's a problem right here. But it does feel like there's ways back into it for Team Freedom, and one of them might end up being through this Nyx Assassin, who should find a kill right here as he ends up being able to get that one. Nicely done for the Nyx, and if he gets off to a good start, this could go okay for him.
I love this specific Nyx strategy, which is draft a Nyx because they have one squishy intelligence hero, and just rail that guy all game long. Go for the low-hanging fruit. Find the Lion, kill him until you have so much gold that you're able to buy items to kill the other heroes that you shouldn't be able to kill.
And you look right now as well as the Queen of Pain level 7 could make a play here onto the Slark if he's not careful. Do not want to end up stepping too far afoot. The Undying is also in the area and could also cause some issues. Meanwhile, in the Dire jungle, you do have the rotation in. Nyx Assassin and the Leshrac are both here. Going to see if they can make something happen against this Alchemist, as it looks like they're not going to be able to really find a whole lot.
Down bottom.
Undying? Is he going to die here? Slark
Should.
has dove pretty deep for this. This might be a little bit of an overextension, and yeah, do not want to go for that one. The Queen of Pain was walking back in with Isma's rune, and I think that's a good decision by Slark to back out.
Yeah, he's going
Oh.
to die anyway, is the thing.
Maybe, possibly, ends up dropping very low. Sonic Wave just on the very edge finds the kill.
I mean, this is a very hindsight is 2020, or like I have God's eye, so obviously I know more than that Slark player knows. But with that Queen of Pain rotating in, he should have just killed the Undying and traded his life potentially. At least then he got something out of it, right? And once again, Nyx Assassin going for those ripe apples down on the bottom of the tree and just killing the crap out of this Lion. This is going to be a rough game to be Lion. He is the only viable target for that Nyx.
Well, and the other problem about that is that then you need to start investing in some sentries. Like, Undying is going to want to get items as well. They're actually going to run into Benjaz here, but not going to be able to find the kill as, again, only 2 stuns, and both of them take a little bit of setup from time to time. I kind of am curious as this game goes on if it's worth it even trying to invest in a gem on one of these heroes. Weaver is going to walk back into lane. They're actually going to be able to scout out the Lion again. Oh, no. Poor Lion. They end up being able to hit one of the stuns, if not the second. He goes down, and then Undying Tombstone is dropped. This might be an overextension. They're going to heal it back up again, but very quickly dead. Bugs are now down as well. Going to be able to hit that stun. This Weaver overextends. He ends up being able to get the time lapse, though, and that should be a walk away. There's going to be a jump forward. Leshrac does fall. You know, everybody on the side of the Radiant dropping very low. Ixmike trying to TP away. Can they break this one? They're not going to be able to, but still killed 2 and only lost that Lion.
That very narrowly swung the way of Team Freedom, like, or came very close to swinging the way of Team Freedom. Couldn't quite make it happen, but if they had gotten a slightly better Ancient Apparitional, and if it were timed just slightly earlier, yeah, that fight could have swung in a pretty surprising manner. So I think that by itself proves that Team Freedom are not out of this, despite their very MacGyver draft. Or seemingly MacGyvered draft, and the fact that they don't really have a response to the Weaver. Shutting down the Alchemist is a big part of it, and also the Nyx just picking on this Lion so much by itself is going to just sweep out one of the legs from under NoT today.
Yeah, I would agree. I also think, I think that we're maybe giving the Team Freedom draft a little bit too much flack. There's pieces of it that feel like it works together. I think it was just a really, really bad start to their game. If they were able to come out away from that laning stage like slightly better, then I think that it ends up looking more effective, because like they took the tower relatively quickly. You know, you've got this Leshrac here who's maxing out Diabolic Edict. He's capable of taking towers if he gets a little bit of alone time. You've got the Nyx to scout things out. It's like it's all the pieces for mid-game fighting that they might need to come back after a rough laning stage. Yeah. But it did end up really costing them a lot early, but they're starting to fight back into it somewhat.
It feels a little to me like they went out and they bought all the seeds for the perfect garden, right? You got your tomatoes, you got your strawberries, you got whatever the else, that like
Cucumbers.
roses. I don't know what people grow. Yeah, cucumbers, whatever it is that you want for your garden. But they didn't buy any soil. So they just have like all these seeds. Because you're right, they do have all the components juggled up in the air of what you would want in the mid game. But they don't have any resources to give any of these heroes. Nyx Assassin is the only one finding any substantial amount of farm. And he's only finding it by picking on this Lion like he's a red-headed 4th grader. You know what I mean? Like, this poor guy is just going to have a rough life.
It's very true. Poor Gingers. And it does look like now also, again, you see this situation where they're going to try and pressure these towers. And it's so hard for anybody to rotate for this, because the Nyx Assassin at any given point in time could be sneaking up on you. And you see right there, he's going to rotate in and start being able to at least somewhat threaten this Queen of Pain if she steps even a little bit further or far afoot. And that also ends up being the same type of deal for the Alchemist if he ends up going back for this Radiance, which it looks like he is going to go for.
Yeah, the Radiance makes perfect sense here, right? If you're trying to leverage out advantage onto your opponents because you're able to get more farm, then you want to go for the big ticket item before they actually scale into the game. And Team Freedom have not been able to scale into the game at all, but plenty of space and time for Alchemist to get going here. And he almost has the Sacred Relic, right? And so far, he almost has a Sacred Relic. Slark almost has Treads.
Oh, man. Yeah, that hurts. That is not the best. One thing I also I was taking a look at it, something that people don't often think about, Undying, strength hero, but also has relatively decent int growth. Right now he's sitting on 46 intelligence. He naturally ends up also getting the 2.5 as the Lion's just going to casually take some Diabolic Edict damage. And that mana burn does do a lot of damage to him. So it's another hero that it works fairly well against in terms of being able to bring him down pretty quickly.
Yeah, especially because he is sitting on top of the arcane boot, so he will usually have mana to burn, which is another factor against strength heroes. Mana burn, even if they do have decent intelligence gain, in a lot of cases they just don't have large mana pools, so you can only hit them with that once anyway and get damage. It's okay. It's honestly, it's not the best, but it's there. You know, you gotta make do with what you have. Presumably, the Nyx picked up a Hand of Midas, and he's gonna go try to find another yummy lion.
They're going to end up being able to find this Undying here, drop down the tombstone, run right on into the Leshrac. He's a little bit AFK at the moment, but I'm sure he's going to come back in a second. Meanwhile, over in the jungle, they're looking for another kill. Maybe going to be able to find this Alk. They are going to be able to hit. There's the Impale. Vendetta comes through as well. The mana burn, I don't think it's going to be enough to be able to find that one, but he should turn off that armlet ASAP. It looks like he's going to be okay.
He'll be absolutely fine. The Nyx should have gone for the lion. He knows he can kill the lion. That was too ambitious, you know. Make like a dentist and kill lions, Nyx.
Absolutely. They are going to turn on to this Undying in the bottom lane. Little skirmishes going on all across the map, and now going to be able to find the Queen of Pain. Really nicely done there by the Nyx.
Yeah.
Hand of Midas, he's still able to find kills.
Queen of Pain is a great target for the Nyx. Like, she's low health. She's a good target. The problem is a good Queen of Pain like reaction time is going to usually lead to either you needing to open with the stun instead of getting the Vendetta damage, or the Queen of Pain blinking away. So it's a much less reliable kill, right? If you can find her either unawares, or if you have the damage to kill her without the Vendetta damage, then yeah, that's another little piece of fruit that you can dangle into your mouth hole, or whatever these guys have, your chitin holes, I guess. But yeah.
Well, and you see also another little bit of synergy here. The Leshrac is actually not hitting the tower with Diabolic Edict right now, but if you do have the... oh, God.
What the hell is going on over here?
He's very far forward. There's a little bit of a party going on over by the tier 2 and the bottom lane. I literally don't know what's going on in this game right now. The chase is going to continue here, but Team Freedom is so far forward. IX Mike's going to pay for this one, too. Ulti gets popped, but he's so freaking low already. They don't even need to attack him, and now he is going to go down. Man, oh man, they were very, very far forward there.
Yeah, Nyx, I can understand him because he's just been tearing through this line. He thinks he's a big man on campus, right? He's running around doing whatever the hell he wants. So I can understand him getting a little too big for his britches and needing to be put back in his place. But IX Mike, come on, buddy. You haven't earned it the way that the Nyx has earned it. You gotta be more careful than that.
Yeah, that's a problem. Also, we do now have the Alchemist who has his Radiance up and online. You know, I was going to say there for a while, it felt like Team Freedom were bringing it back a little bit, but now with this acceleration, I mean, Alchemist just got 500 gold about from that bounty rune, a 5,000 experience lead with roughly 4,000 net worth. This is turning into a really difficult game for Freedom to play. I mean, they've still got all of the pieces there, and you've got the Nyx Assassin who's building into an Aghanim Scepter, has his Hand of Midas. Slark also went for a Midas, so they are going to be able to scale into the late game, and now Weaver is going to go for a Midas as well. Sec door, please.
Why not? Let's all buy Midases. Let's draft piecemeal, and then everybody gets a Midas, and we'll just play this out at 65 minutes. It's no big deal. Alchemist does have Radiance Boots of Travel armlet. Let's check in on the Slark. He has Treads. Technically a Midas too, but that doesn't really help him in combat. He gets a little more Essence Shift. The Lesh doesn't even have a single completed item. Like, still on brown boots for this poor Lesh.
Oh, they turn away?
The stun just off the mark.
I think that was all just to try and make sure that they got away without taking too much damage. And it does look like up here in the top lane, that's one thing that you could say for this lineup of NoT today is that until Lion gets a Blink Dagger, it's going to be hard for them to punish some of these Heroes of Freedom, I think. They've got a lot of damage that comes out, but not a ton of lockdown.
It's cute that you say until Lion gets a Blink Dagger, as though it's a foregone conclusion that he'll ever have that kind of money into this Nyx.
That's true. It's a problem. It's something that they're definitely going to need to contend with.
He just bought 4 sentries, and he's going to go around his jungle and try to do whatever he can.
Oh, no.
Wow.
What is this
What's
going
that?
on? He just really slightly panicky about what was going to happen. Ancient Apparition does finally kill off the Lion. Meanwhile, over here to the side, a little bit of damage going out. They throw the Sonic Wave onto 2. Are going to be able to kill off that AA. And now Leshrac turning back around, able to do a ton of freaking damage. Almost kills off that Undying. The right click is not going to hit. And unfortunately, the Tombstone found the kill. Meanwhile, Sunbite finds the kill. Ended up pump faking again for a second. And now needs to get out of here before Weaver starts going to town. Turns like Slark wants to fight. I don't understand this. If Nyx would have stuck around, or the communication is not there between everybody.
The biggest part of that whole fight to me was when it opened up with AA throwing out a giant confetti ball for no reason, hitting nobody, just like a party time. It's like the X-Man Jubilee just shoots sparkles but doesn't do anything. That was Ancient Apparition, that fight. It didn't work. I'm not crazy, right? Like, I didn't lag out or something. He hit nobody point blank.
Okay,
right?
I mean, that you've got to. I guess there, when you looked at the situation, he wanted to make sure he got it off before he got hexed.
Yeah.
So to me, it makes some amount of sense, but it just did end up looking a little bit weird.
It looked a little silly. That's all I'm saying. It
Totally.
could have gone better. That's all. It's by no means like the end of the game. And I feel like because this is a best of one and it is a little wacky, it's easier to focus on the things that are abnormal, but let's look at the things that are going well, right? Experience lead is starting to be pulled back for Team Freedom. Not today, and on their side, they still have almost a 5,000 net worth lead, which is largely thanks to the Alchemist, or in fact, pretty much entirely thanks to the Alchemist. Otherwise, other than the Alchemist, Team Freedom are catching up quite successfully. And that's to be expected. An Alchemist team is going to be ahead. If he's not ahead, then you're winning against him. Yeah. So, everything is going okay for Team Freedom. They've got the Midases. They're ready to pack up and head for a week-long camping trip. Like, they've got everything they need to make this thing go into the late game.
Oh, this is actually going to end up looking really nice right now for NoT today. They find 2, or rather 1 rather quickly, and then Ancient Apparition trying to get out of there. Finger of Death comes down. That's a dead Ancient Apparition. Mike going to see if he can get out of there, but they get the Hex down, and that should be another kill. He's regenning up rather quickly, but completely out of mana at this point in time, and that should be another kill as they come through and finish him off. 3 dead. Alchemist was fairly low right there after the armlet toggling, but he's going to be able to get away.
Yeah, come on back, we'll kill you again, is what they had to say for IX Mike. They were not deterred at all. They healed him all the way back up, and it didn't make a lick of difference. That looked like it was going to be a good fight, and then once again, the Ancient Apparition ult was just off the mark. He is having difficulty finding the right angle to shoot them at, I think, is really what the biggest problem is for them. They're going to find themselves a fourth, too.
Oh, God, I think that, they might be able to kill off the Lion again. A pretty easy one right there for him. I don't think that Weaver would be able to find a kill on this Nyx Assassin. But yeah, I guess the other thing is it harkens back to the problem of their draft without reliable stuns. Like, oftentimes when you see AA, it's around, like, a Faceless Void or a Darkseer where they set it up with the rest of the team. Here he's sort of having to find those shots on his own and make it work in the midst of the crazy team fights that we're seeing with, like, Blink, Queen of Pain, and Weaver running all over the place. It is a really difficult matchup for him.
Yeah, so the Alchemist does have the Manta up now, along with, Radiance Armlet. It's going for this split push style, just farm the entire map build, which means Benhaz is probably going to be their frontliner in some degree. Like, he's going to play distraction, he's going to get up the Desolator, try to be doing a fair amount of tower damage. The Vanguard Midas opening is pretty weird on him as well, to be honest. A fresh 10-second unrevealed BKB is up on the Queen of Pain. And Nyx does have the Ags finished. This game is going to break down into some really crazy team fights here in the not-so-distant future.
We'll see if they're going to do it again. A best of one. Things get a little bit crazy rather quickly, and if you're not careful, problems do arise. They might get knocked out in this tournament if they're not careful. They hit the Hex onto Lesh and are just going to back out for the moment, not wanting to get himself caught, but that does also reveal the Nyx assassin. Guess what? Lion's in the area. Let's see if we can kill him.
Right? Just he smells blood in the water.
Oh, you know what? The rest of the side of Not Today is there. They might be able to jump in. Can they kill off this Weaver quickly enough? They do manage to find that one, but now Alchemist trying to run in and find himself a kill as well. Really nice there with the Spike Carapace. Not going to be able to find that one. Meanwhile, Fast Food trying to go down. They do manage to kill off one, and that's Leshrac already dead. Somebody is also going to drop, so the Nyx is out of there, and it looks like that might be just about it. Ike's Mike able to blink away, and he's out.
This Lesh has had about the impact that I would have expected this Lesh to have when I saw him in the draft. He's 0-7. He has contributed to 7 kills, but Slark's actually going to try to grab the Queen of Pain up here up top. Not going to be able to. They really... I don't even know what you do to make this Lesh useful at this point. Lesh is an extremely level-dependent hero. You can play him as a support, sort of, but really when you play him as a support, it's usually like Diabolic Edict down towers, right? And have a follow-up stun. But because they don't have anything to set his stun up with, that follow-up stun mentality is out the window. The towers are starting to fall down. The first tier 2 fell at about 22 minutes, which is pretty normal for this patch. I don't know. I don't know what this Lesh builds to make himself super relevant right now. It looks like he's looking to go into something. He's got a vitality booster now. He just picked up a Veil of Discord.
He might go Atos. That's not the worst thing in the world. It again is sort of one of those mid-game team fighty things, but it's not the worst in the world considering you're probably not going to see BKBs on like the Alchemist anytime soon, or he probably wouldn't want to go BKB almost ever.
So Atos is nice because it will help kite the Alchemist. It will help set up the Split Earth without having to invest fully into the Cyclone Staff. It gives him some health, some stats to deal with the Nyx Assassin, and it gives you something to pop a Lincolns if you ever get to that point.
Oh, a blast comes through, hits on a couple. There's also a debuff applied to a lot of them. It does look like that Lesh is going to go down the long-range stun onto Mike. He needs to be a little bit careful here as he's going to get ran down, and the rest of his team is out of there. Meanwhile, on the other side, you see the Alchemist was just completely able to zone them all out. Nice blink to the high ground, actually able to just get out of there. Mike gets away with just blinking to the high ground after his ulti and then makes his escape. That is so freaking cool.
Hey, an inch or a mile, getting home is getting home. They are going to give up a free Aegis here, though, which is not ideal, and Nyx is trying to do his damnedest to make this not happen. Ooh. Oh, that A ult's actually going to be pretty
That's
nice.
pretty nice. They might be able to kill off one there. They're going to jump on in, be able to get that Spike Carapace stun off onto several as where there's going to be the Aegis popped initially. So already this has paid for itself on the side of Team Freedom. Alchemist is coming back in just a second, trying to make their escape. Mike is still there. They get a really nice stun. That was off the back of the blink, and then Undying is going to go down. Weaver, meanwhile, kills off the Slark, though, and the jump in. A ton of damage coming out, but they got the Spike Carapace onto the Alki. He's not hitting anybody. Somehow this Leshrac is still doing a monumental amount of damage, and they've killed off 3. Not today are running for the hills, but they're going to continue the chase here, and Lion with the DD rune turns back around and just destroys the Leshrac. He's going to pay for it, but it was a pretty nice one nonetheless. And there goes Lion. But he made it worth it.
It was worth it for the moment, but it was not worth it in terms of swing, right? His team is way ahead because of the Alchemist and because of the way AoE rubber band mechanic gold goes. Trading off a Lion for a Lesh, especially an underfarmed Lesh, an underutilized Lesh, that's a trade his team is going to make all day, every day. Team Freedom are super happy to throw that Lesh under the bus to get anything they can out of him. So right now, he pumped out a ton of damage in that last fight, largely because Not Today pushed way too deep into the opponents. But in the average fight, what you're going to expect out of this Lesh is a little bit of splash damage and then a favorable exchange with his life.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Like, even though he's not doing a ton, the threat of him and in conjunction with the other stuff, like, it's forced Queen of Pain to go into this BKB at this point. I think that it's just the mixture of Lesh with everything else that Freedom has means that she's had to go into this now, which isn't necessarily what you want to have happen. I'm still concerned about this Weaver eventually, and that's something that they're going to need to deal with in the long run. But maybe even you're able to do it with like a sheep stick picked up on somebody, a sheep stick on even Mike eventually. He's probably not going to go for it. He's going into SNY.
Well, they did actually. They picked up an Orchid on the Slark to go into a Bloodthorn eventually, I would assume.
Wow.
But the Orchid is going to be great against the Weaver because he didn't go for. He went for a Vanguard instead of any sort of like spell defensive item. That silence is going to be enough to. If AO hits him and he's silenced, he will probably die in most cases. So, especially once you get that upgraded to a Bloodthorn, you're eventually going to have the Rod of Atos. I say eventually because we assume someday the Lesh is going to have that kind of farm. So you are going to have lots of spells to lift off any Lincolns that comes out at this point as well. So a single Lincolns will not be enough to protect this Weaver.
Mike is going to lead the charge here, looking for the Lion. Does manage to find him on the other side. There's the TP out. That was the Undyne, no longer wanting to be around this area, and they actually get out on the Lion as well. So they rotate out, clean out the jungle with the Queen of Pain in the meantime, as well as that Weaver, and we're going to head back to farming a little bit more.
Yeah, and taking a look at the way that it's shaking out, the last fight swung well over half of the overall net worth advantage into favor or away from the favor of Not Today. It's now starting to creep back in Not Today's favor just because the Alchemist farms so fast, but the space that has been provided out of that fight has given a lot of opportunities here for the Slark to finish an item and get ready for some more serious combat. Nyx Assassin is in dangerous territory here and will back out very intelligently. I think Not Today realized that last fight really hurt them very badly because they're actually going to group up and focus on objectives now.
Ooh, they're going to run right into this, though. They get the Orchid off onto the Undyne. They actually didn't hit up on the Weaver, though. He's going to be coming in. The Lion is there as well. They kill off the Undyne, and the AA ulti going to be able to come out. That's going to be the stun from the Nyx Assassin for the moment, and now maybe a little bit overextension. Weaver is going to get run down. They don't quite have the ability to catch up to him as of yet. Blink is not up on this Nyx Assassin. He does have the gem reveal, though, and they find the kill. So 2 down rather quickly, and they were just looking for a ward at that point. Bit off more than they could chew.
Yeah, well, the Alchemist left. As I was commending Not Today for their decision to group up and get something done, the Alchemist decides to go play Harvest Moon for a little while. And, we just saw Sunby move in with that Spike Carapace from the Vendetta, stun the Alch exactly what we were talking about that interaction. It's very solid. If he does wrap around with the Ancient Apparitional, they could potentially get that kill. No, he's going to TP out.
The big thing too is that they're doing that while they're trying to push high ground here. So this is going to be the jump in to see if they could find something, but no ability to find the catch, and that's just a good amount of damage done to the tower, brought down to about half life that tier 3. And again, this sort of jack of all trades style of draft from Team Freedom, it's working. They've been able to team fight themselves back into this after the really rough start.
Yeah, it's funny because Team Freedom didn't really seem to have a lot of answers to what their opponents had, but Not Today had all the answers, to just refused to use them. You know what I mean? It's weird because Not Today's draft just is much more cohesive. They get power spikes at about the same times. They looked like they were ready to go in and start bulldozing down some towers, and instead they've just decided to fall back and farm. They decided to build this Vanguard Weaver, which is a little experimental, doesn't really help against a lot of the heroes out here for Team Freedom. Eventually, I assume that's going to go into an Abyssal for the Slark, but that's a long way away. To open up with that as your starting item is just, there's a reason it's not very common.
Right. Yeah, I was wondering about it too, because he had the Ring of Health at the very start, and I was wondering if that was going to eventually turn into just the normal Lincoln Sphere, but not opting to go for that. We also do see now the BKB picked up for the Alk. Worth noting, he's still 10,000 net worth ahead of the next highest hero in the game. So it's nothing to slouch at this point. Alk is a beast and hard to deal with. But again, not the strongest fighting hero in the world right now. He's just got the Manta Octarine instead, which is much more about trying to get the split push out.
Yeah, the thing is just the build that he opted for is not a super effective combat build. He does still hit very hard, but he can't really get a hold of anybody. We've been seeing the lack of impact from the Alchemist in combat. He has been out making sure things are happening around the map, though. So at least you have that little advantage. It doesn't feel like Not Today are cohesively moving toward a common goal. Whereas it feels like Team Freedom's draft doesn't move toward a common goal, but the players are. And that's, I think, why we're seeing Team Freedom really start to pull advantages. And not today, just double smoked. So use 2 smokes, so they definitely got to make this count.
Well, they're gonna smoke onto this this Abaddon that is not really that concerned about. They actually jump in on the Leshrac on the back lines, though, so this could be pretty good as IX Mike is going to get to the moment, but he actually ends up being able to blink out, and they don't find the kill. So all that they lost for that was the Lesh.
Yeah, 2 smokes for a Lesh. It's a pretty bad trade, if I'm being honest about it. They're going to try to move on to the Nyx Assassin, who has the gem. Queen of Pain also sitting on a gem, by the way.
Well, he does have Spike Carapace if he needs to use it, but they're not really going to be able to find that, and Queen of Pain just having to back out for the moment. So really good play again, Team Freedom. They are able to tank through the smoke. Mike gets away on his Abaddon. The nice little interaction there of the borrowed time with the ability to blink out after the fact. It's kind of a cute little move, and it's ended up getting him out of trouble a couple of times now.
Yeah, it's worked out. Undying is just going to die, just straight up.
Oh, nice little combo there. Again, the Nyx in conjunction with the Slark end up being able to find one. Hey, do end up being able to spot out the Lion. There's the break, and he's going to go down. Another one going the way of Team Freedom. 2 dead, 1,000 net worth swing. And again, like, even though it's all of this net worth that's on the Alk, you still get the swing that goes back into the way of Team Freedom.
Yeah, it's a big problem with farming Alchemist. If you don't have cohesive strategy, especially, I don't particularly love this style of Alchemist, right? Because it's designed to get the most gold you can possibly get onto one hero, while the rest of your heroes are not getting nearly a relative amount of gold. So even though in actual team fighting ability, Team Freedom are ahead, right, in their ability to control these fights. In terms of the way the net worth mechanics actually function, the game thinks Not Today is ahead, and it is rewarding Team Freedom as though they were making comeback victories, which just makes it that much harder for Alchemist's team, right? If the Lion dies, the Alchemist net worth is leveraged against that Lion with the AoE gold. If the Queen of Pain dies, the Alchemist net worth is leveraged against the Queen of Pain. So I'd love to see this Alchemist start to get engaged in combat in a meaningful way. But until we do, I have trouble believing that they're going to turn this around.
Queen of Pain there is going to end up getting jumped on, blinked into trouble, unfortunately, there. And then they were able to get the silence off. Had to use the BKB to try and escape, but it didn't end up happening. Meanwhile, Slark is going to be able to walk away from this one. So they do end up losing the Queen of Pain there. There's the BKB popped for the Alchemist, and he's just going to try and get out of here. So again, not the greatest usage of these initial BKBs, and you've still got this situation where it's like the 30,000 net worth Alchemist who's having to run away from the Abaddon at this point, and when a Lion dies who's got 2,700 net worth, you're still getting that swing. It's such a difficult position to be in right now for Not Today. Are going to be able to...
wow.
That hurts. All right, they are still going to be able to find the kill on the Lesh, but man, it didn't come easy even.
That was actually a really nice stun from the Lesh. I thought he was going to turn it around, but the Manta Dodge was there. All right. This is still anybody's game, for sure. Alchemist, even if you get out a lane of supers, Alchemist is a pretty fantastic high-ground defense hero. Goes into supers well. He gets a negligible amount of gold less from supers than he otherwise would, since so much of his gold is from Evil's Greed. He's got a very low base attack time. The high ground defense of the AoE from an acid spray on a choke point is pretty tremendous. So it's not like Not Today don't have time to turn this around. They do, but it does feel increasingly like Freedom, even though they're behind in net worth, are really ahead in terms of the control of this game.
Well, we saw the first Aghanim Scepter finally passed out as it's handed over to Queen of Pain, and we're starting to see that switch of gold as Alchemist is putting some of that into the rest of his team. And this is another way for them to get back into it. There's a couple of really freaking good Ags upgrades. I mean, you think about the Weavers as well. That's another one that ends up being incredibly efficient. It brings down that cooldown to 16 seconds on time-lapse. With the Alchemist, that's just absurd.
Yeah, and of course, the added benefit of the fact that time-lapse is a fantastic counter to Ancient Apparition Zolt, right? You can get health back with time-lapse, even if you have a Zolt on you. Now, it won't lift the debuff. You'll still not be able to heal from any traditional means, but the fact that they actually have a mechanism to undo a lot of the damage that ultimate is going to actually levy
Oh my god.
is fantastic.
Look at IX Mike right here. He dropped down so low from that one. Ultimate ends up getting popped. He might be in trouble. They're actually just going to jump in onto the line, trying to kill him off. They do manage to find that one. Nice stun through with the A ulti. It's going to connect onto 3, and that might be a Weaver going down. He is forced to pop that BKB. Now they jump forward onto 2. Mike's end up being able to get the suicide down, and Leshark just trying to do anything that he can. Can he kill off this Undying? He does manage to find him, but not before the Alchemist kills him as well. Meanwhile, on the other side, Weaver going to be dropped very low. They get the Impale off. Can they find the kill? Not quite in time. They also get the stun down, and now I think that maybe they might be able to do this. Are they going to be able to find this kill? He's being dropped so freaking low. Nyx is really tanky, and he ends up being able to make his escape for the moment. Meanwhile, Slark picks up the gem off the ground, dropped another item down there, and it does look like Nyx is going to be able to possibly get out of here. Throws out another Impale, might be overextending slightly. They get the catch. That's going to be the A ulti, and that's going to be Alchemist going down. Exceptionally well played by that Nyx in that team fight. He was just flirting with danger, but ends up coming out with greatness.
Yeah, that was playing the margins, as we like to say, right? He could have died to just Radiance burn during that fight, to be honest, if the Alchemist had had his Radiance on, but he didn't. I think he didn't have the Radiance on so that he couldn't be stunned by Spike Carapace. I suspect that was the goal there, but had he had it on, he probably would have accidentally gotten a kill on the Nyx Assassin. And I'm pretty sure that that's the only reason Nyx stuck around, is because he realized that if the Alch turns the Radiance on, Spike Carapace, that's a kill. If the Alchemist leaves it off, then there's no way that the Nyx dies.
In this Nyx, I mean, things that we haven't talked about, 40 regen per second on this hero, as well as being able to have a 5.2 second cooldown on, what does that end up being, a 2.8 second stun. They throw it on out now, going to be able to catch on to several. They pop the BKB now on the Weaver. That's going to be a dead Lion, though, and all of a sudden, Benjaz is also going to dry. I don't think that he's able to survive through this. On the other side, Undying is going to start to drop. He ends up falling down. Is this Weaver going to pop from this? He's dropped down very low, but it doesn't look like, as of yet, he's going to go below the threshold. Is he dead? I think he's alive. All right, he's good. That was close, though.
It was playing the margins once again. Weaver's build is just so weird, dude. Got a Yasha now. It's going in. So he got a Yasha, presumably to go into Manta, so that he could lift off the silence, because he needs to save the BKB for when he gets hit with the Ancient Apparition ult. And when he's going in onto the Lystrak, so he can't use that to pop the silence. It's like a spider woman that ate the spider to eat the fly sort of situation.
Oh my god, look at this amount of disable that you had here from the Nyx. They get the stun onto 2, and Weaver's in the area as well. They need to be a little bit careful, but my god, he's just doing so much damage. He ends up being able to find the other kill. Finger of Death from afar. They don't find the kill, though. Sonic Wave is going to whiff, and he gets the escape. The Radiance Burn is not going to come out from the Alchemist in time, and the Slark lives again, because that's a good freaking hero. And he's playing it to perfection. Meanwhile, bottom lane, they are maybe going to lose the Lesh. IX Mike is here. He's trying to run away from them for the moment, but Slark has hopped back in. He wants to party. Going to kill off another. Does get hexed up for the moment. Can they find this kill, though? There's going to be the Aphotic Shield taking off the stun that came out from for a moment. There's going to be the A Blast. Does only end up hitting onto the Alchemist, but that's enough, as it looks like they might be able to finish this game off here. Really well played by Freedom. They've been out-executing NoT today.
Yeah, that's just what it is, right? They've just been straight up out executing their opponents in a way that is both impressive and maybe a little unfortunate for NoT today.
Oh god, Slark hops back in again. They get the Sonic Wave off. That finally does kill off the Nyx Assassin, but I don't think that Slark is ever going to stop. He might end up going down here finally. Can they find this kill? He's going to end up going into ulti form, running away for the moment. Stun goes on to Ancient Apparition. Thought about jumping back in, but just dissuades the Alchemist from going any further with the turnaround, and now they're all out of there. A whole lane of racks, and as we wait for the net worth graph to catch back up, 10,000 damage done over the course of that on the side of NoT today. But it wasn't enough to get more than 2 kills.
This Nyx Assassin has basically made the win conditions available for Team Freedom here. I can't express enough how much credit this Nyx Assassin should get. He's 13-4-9, and he started off. He reminds me. Have you ever seen the website where the guy starts with one little red paperclip, and then he makes a series of trades and he ends up with a house?
Yeah.
Right? It reminds me of that, because he started off with one little lion kill, and he just kept trading up, man. just kept trading up and going bigger, going bolder. He never backed down, and this Nyx created the space for the Slark to get going. And remember, at the beginning of the game, we said if they can buy the space for Slark to get going before Not Today railroad through them, they have a pretty good chance of winning.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they managed to do. Granted, Not Today helped him out quite a bit with that goal by doing some wacky building on the Weaver and some not objective-oriented building on the Alchemist, but even so, it took a tremendous execution from this Nyx Assassin to make this situation possible for Team Freedom.
Yeah, it really did. I'm curious now also who it is that ends up being able to get this. As I miss a kill down bottom, guess what? It's Lion again. He has had a pretty rough game. It's got to be said. But I think that this is probably going to go to the Weaver at this point, I would assume. Yeah, now Weaver with that 16-second cooldown on time-lapse. I'm assuming that the best way to use this is just going to be to try and keep the Alchemist alive.
It really depends on who gets hit by AA's ult, I think. Because, yeah, if you've got to keep the Alchemist alive with it, then you do have to. But remember, Weaver doesn't have any boots or anything. So he's got to have it available for himself for his own mobility. Like, his ability to actually jump around these fights is somewhat contingent on having time-lapse available.
Alchemist accidentally used his BKB back there. They still might be able to kill off Mike here. He's dropping very low, does pop his ultimate. They end up being able to lift him up with the Yule Scepter, and he's going to be able to blink back, but now he's down fairly low. Thronic Wave thrown out. They do get the Aphotic Shield off, so he's not going to die. He just runs away for the moment. Meanwhile, on the backline, Slark is just ripping through that Undying. A ton of damage coming out onto this Nyx Assassin, but he's never going down. 56 regen per second. Benjaz is going to drop. Are you kidding me right here? Finger of Death, finally. The Lion comes back in, takes revenge. If nothing else, the ultra kill comes out for the Undying, or for the Slark, but Lion killed Nyx Assassin. Let it be known. He did it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that while a worthy goal was necessarily worth it. They are all going to buy back. Everybody who has it on Not Today will spend it right away. And it's starting to feel like a matter of time. If Not Today do not pull something seriously insane out of their collective hats, they are going to be going home the losers of this bracket very shortly.
It would really be a tremendous comeback at this stage. And, you know, even though this Alchemist is really freaking big, he's now been overtaken by the Slark because of those, you know, the Aghanim Scepters that have been sent away. And Ix Mike is going to be controlled for the moment, but Slark just ready to party up front and center. They get the stun there onto Mike, but he is going to be held back for the moment. They kill off the Tombstone, and Slark doesn't have ultimate for 60 seconds, but that Sonic Wave, it's just not nearly enough damage at this point.
Yeah. This is... honestly, Not Today need to not be trying to fight where they're fighting right now. There's no reason to not fight in the 3 armor aura that sits on this tier 3, right? This big circle, this is your friend. Fight up here. I mean, they can drop the Tombstone on the high ground, so it's harder to knock down. They've got all that armor aura. There's no reason not to be taking this fight in their base. They've got good choke point control with the acid spray. Like, just take the advantage. Don't make it harder for yourself, as you've been doing all game long.
Lion is down pretty low in terms of his GPM at this point. They find another kill. I was checking to see if it was in double digits GPM, but it wasn't quite. And it does look like, again, they're going to try and run in and find something. They catch on to that Alchemist for a moment, and there's the stun that comes out. He's going to be held back for the moment there, and looking for another catch. They just continue to hit away, though. Like, all of the energy is expended on the Slark, and nobody is paying attention to the fact that they're just hitting away on the barracks. They do jump forward. BKB's now been popped for this Weaver. They're going to try and kill off 2. They get a pretty nice AA ulti, but it's not going to really do a ton because the BKB is up, and now suddenly AA is dead. They're going to be able to go for a little bit more. There's the time lapse. Benjaz's still alive, but my god, that Alchemist just got evaporated, and now trying to find another one. Good game gets called. They're done. That's 3 heroes, 4 heroes dead now, and Team Freedom doing an exceptional job.
Alchemist got killed so hard there that he disconnected from the game. Like, Dota just kicked him out. Like, you've had enough, man. The bar keep kicking everybody out at the end of the night. Go stumble home. You need to sleep this off.
Oh, it was a really rough game there for Not Today. It's kind of interesting. Like, I didn't know exactly where it was going to go, but Leshrac, he died. He actually died more than the. Oh wait, no, sorry, that's assists. He got 20 assists. Lion died 14 times. He died the most in the game. It was a rough one for him.
Yeah, barely. Only one more than the Leshrac, though, which, honestly, considering the Lion was targeted by a heat-seeking Nyx assassin, I would say that's a pretty sad state of affairs. But you casually die almost as much as that poor Lion who just got singled out. We both had difficulty telling exactly where this game was going to go, other than the fact that literally the first thing I said in this game, best ones are crazy. We're going to see something crazy this game. That's what you have to look forward to here,
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was an absolute pleasure casting for y'all. Yet again, follow us on Twitter at Lyrical Dota, at the Wonder Cow. And more importantly, continue to follow this great tournament we got going. More games that are going to take place tomorrow around the same time, around the same place. First up is going to be FDL facing off against Shazam. Then later on, Infamous facing off against DC. And last but not least is going to be the best of one between the two teams that lost today, Enemy GG and Drag Neil. And those are going to be taking